calling this meeting of the Southwest Licking Board of Education to order. It is 7 p.m. on November 17th in the high school auditorium. I would like to recognize all of our visitors. If you would please join me in the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Jones, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Engel.
Here.
Mrs. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Vincent. Mr. Zani.
Here.
Mrs. Spindler.
Here. Public participation. We have none. Okay. Adoption of agenda.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Engel.
Yes.
Mr. Zani.
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. The motion is passed as printed. Presentations. First up, we have Jason Mumford providing an update on the stadium and concession stand remodeling project.
Some of you guys know me, Jason Mumford. I'm with the Athletic Boosters, and I was here 4 or 5 months ago, I think, when we were talking about getting this all rolling, and Kurt's here. We actually used Garmin Miller for our architectural designs, and so I just brought some drawings just to show you some updates of where we are. We are currently out to bid. Bidding closes on December 6th, and we hope to be, well, we will be up and running by August 1st. So I can go through some of the drawings and you guys can see and ask questions, and if there's anything I can help answer, or if not, if it's above my pay grade, then I'll have Kurt come and help me out here. So this is our preliminary drawings, well, they're the final drawings. This is our concession stand, so this is what you basically see from the road. Here's the garage door. This is what used to be the old girls' bathroom, or ladies' bathroom there, and then there was a big L-shaped thing coming out there to shield it. This was the entrance to the concession, and then front views. So we'll go on. So what we decided to do to optimize the space is we're getting rid of the restrooms, both restrooms that were not in use anymore, thanks to our wonderful building that was put up. So we moved, this would be the door that you currently go in. I know many of you have hung out in the concession stand, slaying some chicken sandwiches and such. So this was the door you would go in. We're blocking that up. The entrance will be back here where the bathroom is, so we'll be able to utilize that door. And the old women's restroom, we're going to keep the one bathroom, toilet and sink, and it'll be walled off, and that'll be a restroom for our folks that are in there working. This will all open up. So these are just, it's showing, actually there's a few later that kind of shows it. This is what it will look like with that, everything on now. So you'll come in here, your bathroom will be here. The triple sink was sitting right about here. It's moving around the corner. And this will all be opened up. So you'll be, as you recall, if you're in there, usually you would come in, you would work, and then you would go, if you needed supplies, you'd have to go through the garage and back out. So this will all be opened back up. As far as the exterior, we are going to paint, that's kind of what's shown a little bit here. You can see the exterior will be, after they fix some of the blocking, it'll be painted to match the locker rooms, and the roof will be the metal roof to match the pavilion and locker room. That pavilion came out really nice. So we'll try to match everything that we can so it'll stay with our current look out there. The big project will be, those that, like I said, those that have been in there see a lot of extension cords that we were Kurt and his engineering group basically came to the conclusion that we pretty much knew. We don't have enough electricity coming in. So we'll have, that'll be fixed. The exterior will be painted, the roofing will be done. It's gonna be a temperature control, I guess is the best way to put it. It's not gonna be necessarily heated and air conditioned, but there will be a unit in there that will allow it not to drop below 50 degrees. And then there'll be fans in the ceiling, is that correct? That will allow us to exhaust the hot air. Sometimes it's well over 100 in there. So we're gonna try to keep it between 50 and 90 in there. Not only for the work that people are doing in there, but also there's a lot of building deterioration that occurred because of the freezing, thawing that's happened over the last 30 plus years. So this will help keep it there for a very long time. Any questions that I can? Paul? All right, so as far as, we'll move ahead. Like I said, the bidding will close and then we'll go from there. The project's probably gonna be right around 300,000 is what we asked. We did it in phases, so 300,000 will cover what we're looking at. And we had Kurt go ahead and build in, if we are able to come up with some extra dollars, that out back would be which would be back here, we'd concrete this and put a refrigerator freezer out back. That's one of the phases we talked to, but the plan itself would be to just do this originally, unless we can come up with it would be probably an extra $60,000 the refrigerator freezer and the concrete.
How long is it going to take to build and renovate?
We asked that it be done by August 1st. And I don't think we'll get much pushback on that. Kurt, did you see anything?
Haven't heard any pushback from the bidding.
I mean, the sooner would be better, obviously, if we get everything ready to go. That August 1st is kind of our go day. We have the VW show up there, come in, and then outdoor athletics start. It's really busy out there. We're working on some alternative plans for track this year, this track is. We want to make sure we've got something out there for them. We've talked about possibly having food trucks, or we're reaching out to Pepsi to see if they have some mobile units that we could actually put in there, and we can still provide some form of concession for all the spectators that are out there. Yes, sir.
Will your hamburger grill remain where it's at?
So the hamburger grill will remain, yes.
Yeah.
We kept all that stuff portable. It really, really increased the cost to go for a hood inside to do burgers.
Well,
Plus,
that's why I'm asking, yeah. I
yeah,
figured-
it would. We tried to keep it as simple and as inexpensive as we could. We knew there were a lot of things we needed to get done, but
Yeah.
plus the folks that volunteer and do that, I think if we put them in there, they might go a little stir crazy. I think they enjoy being out there, talking to folks and making the burgers and fries
Yeah.
and all those type of things. So yeah, all that will stay the same. I mean, when August 1st rolls around, hopefully if we've done our job right, only thing people will see differently is they'll get served a lot quicker. The servers inside won't be bumping into each other as much. We'll have enough electricity to run all the things we need to run. But as far as everyone, we'll make sure the Warrior Burgers are still ready to go. Anything else? So from our standpoint, and I don't know how this goes, but I'm not asking for a particular dollar amount or anything, but if there's anything that the school, or I don't know the process on that, but if there's any donations that you would like to make towards as far as the school board, we would be more than willing to accept those. So, all right?
Yep.
If you guys have any questions or anything, please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have the report card presentation.
have to understand one thing, that more than anything else, it is capturing particular moments and things like that. It's what the public sees. But what happens day to day in the buildings is the most important thing. And we encourage people, obviously, to communicate with teachers. We encourage people to communicate with their students. We encourage people to come and visit the building and talk to administrators. And we think those are the most important things. What you see on paper is a byproduct and sometimes looks a particular way to a different set of groups. But the most important thing is what's happening day to day. So when you're looking at this report card, again, this comes from House Bill 82, which was passed in June of 2021. These are some of the changes. Now we're going to use stars as the rating system. They will go basically through 1 through 5 stars as opposed to the old A through F method. Overall, this year there was no overall stars presented. Again, that will occur next year. A couple changes in terms. K-3 literacy now becomes early literacy, and the prepared for success now becomes college, career, workforce, and military readiness. The achievement component, the performance index no longer includes indicators met, and performance index denominator is the average of the top 2% of schools. So that's going to change. It's going to fluctuate every year. You'll be looking at different schools, and then the progress looks at student. Those student groups are no longer included. You see the ratings at the bottom. The 5 significantly exceeds, all the way down to a 1 where it significantly needs support, and everything in between. That 3 is that meeting expectations, needing support, or exceeding support. So I want to talk about, and when you look at it, the state law outlines that the components that make up the overall rating are going to be achievement component, progress component, early literacy component, gap closing, graduation, and then in future years, it will be the college, career, workforce, and military readiness. And what they've done is they've weighted each of these a particular way. We don't have that up there, and again, they use the formulas, the technical, everything on OD is available, the formulas that they use to create it. But for the most part, achievement and progress are weighted higher than graduation rate, gap closing, and early literacy at this point. And then for particular buildings, what they will do is, if obviously a high school doesn't have early literacy, the additional weight will be given to those components such as achievement, progress, graduation rate. And conversely, if you're an elementary school, you don't have a graduation rate, early literacy is going to be weighted a little bit higher. So as we look at this, you can see the trend that we have. Our 4-year rate was 95.6, our 5-year rate was 94.2, and that is weighted 40% of the star rating goes to the 5-year, 60% goes to the 4-year. In gap closing, this component shows how well we're meeting the performance expectations for our students in English, language arts, math, graduation rate. Also measures how we're supporting our English learners to increase language proficiency, looking at reducing chronic absenteeism for all students, identifying gifted and providing gifted services. We were a 5-star rating at this point. Again, this is going to change every year. It's going to be, the 60.7%, it's going to continue to go up every year. And then the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component. This gives us the opportunity to see how well we prepare our kids for anyone. That's what our kids are going to do. Those are the options. You're either going to join the workforce, go to college, or join the military. And in the past, military enlistment really didn't count as a component. They've added an apprenticeship program, or pre-apprenticeship program. So there are multiple opportunities, and there's going to be a great deal of emphasis placed on what we're doing for students once they leave us. And we have a lot of, there's a great deal of opportunity right now to create programs, to partner with business, to partner with industry in the community, and do some different things, and we're definitely exploring all of those. Like I said, this component will not affect the rating for 2 more years.
So the next component is achievement. This component measures student academic achievement on each level of performance on a The next category is progress. Again, we received 4 stars in this category as well, and this measures the academic performance of students compared to expected growth. So at this point, we're not just looking at the achievement levels of students, but we're looking at how much they have grown from their previous years and did they meet their expectation. The green means we were very similar to statewide expectation. That's kind of, right in the middle. They've made a year's worth of growth. The dark blue means we made way more than a year's worth of growth. And then the red means that there's a significant growth loss, and those are areas that we are focusing on for improvement. The last category is early literacy, which we did receive 3 stars in. This category measures the reading improvement and proficiency for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. You can see our trend there. This category looks at the number of students who are off track at the beginning of the year, and then the following year have been moved to on-track status. Because there's not state testing in the early grades, this is done through a variety of measures. For us, we use STAR, and that lets us know if our students are making the growth they need. We did move 35.7 of our kids to on track. That doesn't mean 35% of our kids are on track. That means the number of students we have off track, we moved 35% of them to on track last year. And 98.2% of our students met the 3rd grade reading guarantee requirement, either through the state testing or through an alternative measure, and they were promoted to 4th grade. To address the K-3 literacy, I thought it would be valuable just to tell you where we are currently. This is not on the report card, but currently our on-track statuses for kids at the beginning of the year. In kindergarten, 70% of our kids are on track right now, which is pretty good for kindergarten and the highest we've seen in a while. 1st grade, 76%. I don't recall a time where we've had an on-track status quite that high at the beginning of the year. I see that that's messed up. The red at the bottom should be 2nd grade at 66%, and then the light blue, 3rd grade at 67%. So that's where our kids are sitting right now. I briefly just wanted to update you on things that we are doing in K-5. I know Mr. Tanchevsky talked about apprenticeships. In K-5, we're not really going to start on apprenticeships quite yet, but we are working on and have implemented a new MTSS process to work on catching students and identifying their specific needs to address improvement. We have a new data warehousing site that we have created in-house to bring data more accessible to teachers. We have new screening measures in K-3 to determine student needs, and that goes right along with the new dyslexia law, so we're implementing all of that a year earlier than we are required to. We have provided a lot of professional development and literacy this year for K-5, and we'll continue to do so. Our next round on November 28th. And then finally, we are doing literacy walkthroughs in each building with administrators. Myself and Amy Dennison, the literacy coordinator, go out each month and we walk through every classroom and look at the components of literacy and what's happening in the classrooms and debrief to determine what professional development we need in the future. Questions for us?
Tanya, can we get the whole numbers for the on-track, move to on-track?
Can you get the what?
Whole numbers, like how many were off, that, like,
I can get those to you.
the
I don't have
math?
them readily available.
No, that's fine.
Yep.
Anyone else have questions? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, item 3, request to speak on agenda items, Teamsters, Southwest Licking Education Association. Okay, thank you. Item 4, approval of minutes from the October 20th board meeting.
Motion approval 4A.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 5, financial report.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Including your packets, the executive summary for October 31st. Fairly routine month. We did get our second income tax settlement for the year, and it came in about 6% higher than we anticipated. It's kind of like 3 straight settlements in a row. That's been a lot higher than we expected, which when we get to 5-year forecast, I actually did increase the forecast this year for 10% increase, and that's still 6% over that.
Okay.
So we're doing really well in income tax. State sources, we didn't get our homestead and rollback settlements from Licking or Fairfield County. Those should be coming this month. I get to expect to get the full dollar amount, so that should be corrected by next month. Expenditure-wise, just a normal month, nothing really out of the ordinary. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 6, personnel consent calendar. We have A through H.
Motion approval A through H.
Second?
Any discussion? Anything to point out?
There's nothing significant at this time.
Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 7, business items. We have A through H. Do we need to pull any of these out?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Motion approval 7A through H.
Second?
Discussion on anything?
Do you want us to run through them, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the A, Pataska Library Board of Trustees, that's the recommendation for the appointment. Reach agreement is for one of our students in the district for an outside placement. The board originally, for C, you improved a resolution back in August, and then this situation went through an ODE resolution and impracticality, and they want us to rescind it now due to their findings. So that's why that's on here. And then there's an additional resolution of impracticality based on the law just changed and how parents have to submit this. So we're going to have probably a couple more of these coming as parents learn the new ways of submitting this. So that's an additional one of that. Letter E is our proposed lease between the district and the Pataskala Public Library, and Jeff is here tonight in the audience too if we want to discuss anything pertaining to that or have any questions or concerns.
F, do you want Eric to do a presentation on the new K3, Gar Miller first?
It's fine with me.
Yeah. Eric Kurt, do you take care of that?
Yes, we have an update on both the K3 and Kirkersville projects. We'll start with K3. We are at the phase known as DD, so that there will be a phase after this, construction documents, possibly So this is a split face block with a membrane roof. That, you know, until you get up close, it will still have that, a similar look to what you have with the brick. Trying to match similar styles and color schemes to your other new buildings. Coming into the main entrance here. Now, some of those finish alternates would add a little bit more tile and things just to dress it up a little bit more, but even in base bid, it's the finishes are pretty nice. See the commons area, media center, very similar setup at the intermediate. And taking a look inside of the media center. We have a second rendering I'll pull up real quick. Just showing you more towards the back of the building, classroom areas. Give you a little idea of the corridor and the weight lining and the color schemes that are in there. And then this will eventually then take you into the classroom to see inside the classroom. So again, this is showing you what the base bid work is right now. So as far as schedule, pending approval tonight, we continue forward with CDs being completed just before Christmas. Those documents will then be sent to our estimator. We go through the similar reconciliation process, seeing where we're at with estimates. And then we could get the bid documents released by February 15th, looking at a bid date of March 15th, and construction starting April 1st. Are there questions related to the K3?
I'm trying to picture that in that little corner there where the ball diamonds are. That seems so much larger than what I'm picturing would be there. So anyway, but it does fit, I assume.
Yes, it does fit.
Good.
Okay, we'll move on to Kirkersville. Kirkersville is farther along. This is at the CD phase now, so we're close to being ready to go out to bid. Our total project budget is $11,558,400. Our current CD project budget is coming in at $12,166,632. So we have that overreach of just over $615,000.
Do you have any more questions for Garner Miller at all? So the 3 agenda items are F, G, and H. The first one is basically to reallocate $5 million that we had as part of our 2021 bond issue and move that money towards the new K3 and Kirkersville. As you saw per Garner Miller's estimates, we do need to add at least $3.1 million tonight to move forward in DD for K3 or CD for Kirkersville. That'd still leave about 1.9 that we could possibly use for alternates, but also kind of a contingency for bid day, because these are estimates and we won't know for sure until we actually get the final bid numbers to know where we're at. So kind of the thought, Dr. Perkins and I basically wanted to bring this to board. So those 3 together would be allocating $5 million for these 2 projects, move forward with DD for K3, and move forward, go through construction documents with Kirkersville and move forward to bidding on that one.
And just to give an example, so we went and walked Kirkersville the other day, and one of the alternates is the casework. So the architects and myself and Mr. Janelle took a look at that, and some of that casework, some can remain is in good shape, but some is really not in great shape. So it's on the alternate list, but to do a building renovation, I mean, it's going to have to be replaced. And so that's just one example that it got moved over, and we went and looked at it in the classrooms, and we're not going to be able to keep that on the alternate list, and that's just one example. Some can stay and be added on later, but things like that are going to have to be done during the renovation.
Yeah, the other thing is, to me, is the roof. I mean, $550,000 is the alternate, but is it really? You're renovating that building, do you want to leave an old roof on it?
Right.
So that's the kind of things that we can use the additional 1.9 for, or if there's bid day savings, other things, but that's why we are asking for the entire $5 million to be allocated towards these 2 projects.
Tell me again where the 5 million is coming from, Rick?
The 2021 COPS issuance we did for $23.5 million. There was $5 million in that issuance.
Eric, can we get a copy of these presentations, specifically the renderings? Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I'll probably add something on. I think it's noted that unfortunately we're not going to be able to do, because the increase in cost, the addition on the elementary as originally planned. So, you know, the building we built for that, but that's something we're going to have to eventually, between the high school, you know, that current elementary and the potential of a additional elementary on down the road, we're going to have to go back for another bond at some point.
Is there any cost savings in including those items as base bid and not alternates?
You got experts.
Okay.
Especially things like sound system, that they're not going, I mean, the price is going to be the same in alternate. Where it will cost more is if you don't accept them at bid day and you add more runs and change order, they will be more expensive.
Okay, I just want to make sure, you know, if we know we're going to have to do casework and we know we're going to have to do the roof, does it make a difference to include that as part of base bid?
I think the biggest thing is just from OFCC's perspective, if you add those back in at base bid, they want to know that, you know, you've allocated the funds appropriately for them, but
Gotcha.
there wouldn't be an issue with doing it.
Okay.
Anything else? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes. Item 8, treasurer's items A through D.
Motion to approve 8A through D?
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Obviously, A is donations, and we always appreciate those. B is the amendment to appropriations. I found an error in one of my formulas, which required me to budget about another $100,000 for the general fund. So I need to come back to the board to increase the budget for the general fund. C is the 5-year forecast. I'll go through this quickly. Is basically, including your packets, the 5-year forecast as we filed by November 30th. Overall, looking through the forecast, we are looking very good. For FY 23 through 25, we are still projecting a positive cash flow, but we are projecting negative cash flow starting 26, 27. Really, the biggest reason for that is we have pretty much flatlined school foundation. School foundation is our second largest source of revenue. But unfortunately, got a new buy-in budget coming up there July 1st, and then there's another one after that. So this forecast really covers 2 biennium budgets that we have no clue what state's going to do. There's the Fair School funding plan that's currently in place now, and if they continue to fund that, we should be in pretty good shape. But if for some reason they don't fund that, that could affect us. So the most conservative thing is what we did was just to flatline it. But I'm hoping as a growing school district, kind of like with the last time they flatlined, they still gave us more money because we are growing. I mean, we still in the forecast are projecting 5 new teachers each year, 3 new aides each year, a bus driver each year. So we're still on the expenditure side projecting this additional staffing because we are growing, but we're not projecting additional revenue from the state side for the growth of those additional enrollment of kids. But overall, it's a good forecast. We're doing very well, and I don't see any major concerns at this point with the 5-year forecast. I'll be glad to answer any questions. And then I think the last one is statement of purposes. Just bring those to the board to get approved as they come to the school as district office. Is there any specific questions that I can answer for you?
Nope. Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Ziny,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Spindler.
Yes. Item 9, superintendent's comments.
So a couple of things. I had the opportunity, as I shared last time, it was this week earlier this week, to participate in the State of the County, which was put on by United Way and open to the public. And it was a panel of different superintendents and leaders through public, private education, charter schools. It was a really interesting opportunity to be able to hear from different facets in the education world and what's impacting them today. The questions were led by United Way and then answered by each panel member. A couple of things that I found interesting through that was the discussion of the graduation rates, attendance, and then a lot of the commonalities that were discussed, the same concerns that this district is currently having with the social and emotional needs of kids, behaviors, still working on those from the pre-pandemic, and we talked about graduation rate and attendance, and Southwest Licking is one of the highest in the county next to Granville. And as you listen to other entities talk about that, I realize the great work that our staff is doing, and that takes everyone to get kids to graduate and get kids to come to school, which then leads me to my second thing. I wanted to point out for you guys to be on the lookout. So I'm not sure if you saw the article in the Advocate. There was an article on the attendance rates in the county and basically being low. And Southwest Licking was not included in that article because we're one of the highest again next to Granville. So they did a feature story on our district. Mr. Severino participated in that. It was a key part of that story that's coming out to talk about the shift and bringing him on board as our truancy coordinator and the fantastic things he's doing and the home visits he's making and the connections with our families and what's going to help our attendance rate that's already fairly high in the county, but even grow higher. So keep an eye out for that because that should be coming. We are preparing for our Kirkersville move in December. Some additional communications will go out to our families, reminding them what's happening and the schedule. Teachers will be getting in the last weekend in November to check out their classrooms, and then once everything is finalized, beginning of December, they can, if they want to start taking personal items over, they'll be able to, and then we'll do the official move over the holiday break, the beginning of the holiday break, get the items in there. So that's coming around the corner. We do have just a to give a little shout out for the play this weekend at the high school that starts tomorrow night, if anyone has time to go see that. And then lastly, I just wanted to share that our food service department welcomed multiple district admins into the cafeterias today to serve Thanksgiving with the kids. So that was a really great opportunity to be in the buildings, and fun that they let us participate in that. Any questions for me?
Questions? All right. Request to speak on non-agenda items, Teamsters and Southwest Licking Education Association.
As you know, we have teachers that are coming to every school board meeting. And tonight, as the executive board was heading over here, we received this message from a teacher. And it seemed particularly fitting to what I want to talk to you tonight. It said, hey, I just want to text and say sorry, because I probably won't make it tonight. I'd like to blame it on my cold, but this year has just been undescribable for me. And I've gotten zero support. I'm afraid if I go tonight, I'll just get more upset. I'm really sorry. Because I do want to support my fellow teachers, but I'm just so angry. This may be my last year in SWL. And I hate that, because this is where I live and where my kids go to school. I'm sorry. I'm just ready. We're in the midst of a teacher shortage, a national teacher shortage. This is not something anyone at Southwest Licking did. It's not anyone here to blame. A study came out Tuesday that reviewed national data regarding teaching for the last 50 years. Nationally, teachers' job satisfaction is its lowest level in 50 years, with 42% of educators saying the stress of their job is not worth it. That's compared to 81% in the 70s. Nationally, there are more than 500,000 fewer teachers since the pandemic began. In Ohio, the issuance of new teaching licenses dropped almost 50% in the last 12 years. In Southwest Licking's local schools, we currently have positions that we cannot fill, and have positions filled with individuals on emergency licensure. And we fare better than many districts. While these statistics are concerning, I'm more frightened by
30 seconds, I'm sorry.
Or the sleepless nights, trying to figure out how to help a child succeed. Or the many nights when we arrive home too exhausted to give our all to our families and lives. What I do know is that the teachers who love this community and this district and our students are at a breaking point. What I believe is we must work together to ask the questions and find the answers. SLE recently requested board members meet with us to discuss large issues proactively in our district, and our request was denied. These issues.
5 minutes. Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lisa Kimberling. Lisa, when you speak, give your name and address, and then you'll have 5 minutes.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I'm battling.
It's okay.
Pneumonia for the last week, so I'm not contagious. So my name is Lisa Kimberling. I have 4 children in the district. I live at 148 Terrier Court in Pataskala. I'm also not only a parent of 4 children in our district, I am also a substitute nurse and teacher that I'll be teaching in our district. I just was accepted. We have endured a lot of, the subject is bullying, okay? And this is not just Southwest Legend, this is nationwide. We have endured a lot of bullying over the last several years to the point that it became physical with my 8th grade daughter, that I had to pull her out of our district for her safety concerns. When it became physical, and I wanted to know why does my daughter have to pay the price? My daughter, along with other children that are being bullied within our district and other districts, should not have to pay the price at the hands of these repeat offenders. I am not that parent here today that's going to tell you that my daughter is perfect. However, I will tell you that I am that parent that's going to be an advocate and a voice for my child. So my child gets consequences for her actions at home when she does wrong. And some of her actions I've not necessarily been proud of. I also would like to acknowledge and thank several administrators, the teachers, for keeping our children safe and all their hard work and dedication. They too deserve to be protected from these school bullies. With that being said, here's the true issues I want to address to the board. First, I'd like to ask you, may I ask who makes the district policies? How, as we parents and members of the district, have the board take a look at the policies that are not working and make them more set in stone with tougher consequences and to enforce the policies that are in place? How many children need to get physically, mentally, emotionally humiliated and destroyed? Does it take a child to suffer a suicide attempt or be physically harmed for any changes to be made? When do we draw this line? Why have we not any set in stone policies that parents can feel comfortable sending their children to school where they should be safe? It is not okay to pick and choose what bullies will be suspended and what will not be suspension. Everybody's child matters here. I said we should not base anything on race, religion, financial status, or community status, because this should mean nothing. This should mean nothing at all when it comes to a child's safety and their life being destroyed. What as a district can we change to assure the safety of our children at school? Perhaps a more zero tolerance bully policy updated? I would like to ask the board members when this can change. I have reviewed several numerous neighboring district policies and have read the bullying policies through and through. Their bullying policies are set in stone. It does not limit to just school and school activities. Their policies are broken down bullying, humiliation, intimidation, not only is a school problem, it is also listed in their manuals. It is Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and other outside resources, which, as we know today, is the devil. Why are our children allowed to have phones in school? One of our policies in our manual says there's a no phone policy, yet our children are walking around randomly taking pictures while in the hallway, making fun of other children and posting it. That's a form of bullying. I am here to tell you that after speaking with over 25 parents in this district, we demand a change. The policies that we have in place are not working, and they need to be reviewed immediately.
30 seconds.
I'm asking this for the safety of our youth. Perhaps we could have an anti-bullying club, an anonymous way to report bullying without any repercussions. I am my voice for my child and everybody else's child in this district. My journey will not stop here. I will continue to be here and voice my opinion until we see a change. Please, let's make Watkins School a name to be proud of again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 11, closing item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn? Second?
Any comments, questions? Mr. Jones?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Zani,
Yes.
Mrs. Spindler.
Yes, we are adjourned at 7:56 PM.